Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts, and today's topic we are talking about, it is up to you. Guys, I've had a lot going on in my life. This is going to be a really short podcast today, but it's going to be something that I feel like it'll be a good message for all of us to remind ourselves, and that is our success, who we become, is all up to us. I'm going to, here in a second, head to Pearson's playoff baseball game, and we've got a lot going on in life, and watching him succeed to the highest level in state, his team, has been really, really fun. And I've been working with a lot of athletes on meal plans, a lot of people my age on meal plans, and putting a lot of energy around Core Vive as we're about to launch about 3 different new products this summer. And it's been really good for me, even though I don't have a lot of time to really get in the office early in the morning and study and prepare and figure out what it is that I need to do to be the best leader. And, what are some of the things that I really leaned on to really mentor others, over my career of leadership and helping people succeed. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorites and things that I've always went back to, and some new notes that I wrote this morning. And I hope that this message really, motivates and excites you to turn that chapter, to turn the page, and really go after life. Let's go. So first thing I'll share with you, one of my favorite mentors, his name was Jim Rohn, and this is kind of my words and his words put together, but it's something that's powerful if you let this sink in, and that is, human beings can alter the course of their life. Human beings can live one way for 5 years and then tear up the script and live a total different way the next 5 years from now. See, the next 5 years, they will arrive. The question is, where will you arrive at? Is it going to be a well-designed destination, or is it going to be an undesigned destination? The question you got to ask yourself, where do you want your health to be, your finances to be? Do you want to be the person that people are honored to be around you? You're respected. Are you going to be that person that right now decides to take life to a whole nother level? When you really think about it, it's up to us. And I daily work with people. I'm working with a gentleman in Texas, East Texas, a lot this week, and he was explaining to me his desire to be able to be the best dad that he can be, to be an example for his kids. And working with another one that was 27-year-old that's got a couple small kids, and he's like, man, I want to be that dad that people look up to, or my kids look up to. I want my wife to look up to me. And here's what I've learned about life. We all go through different phases. We go through those phases in life where maybe life is not where we want it to be. And in that time is when you are totally disgusted that you have got to make the decision that I'm tearing up the last 5 years of my life. I'm going to get a new plan and I'm going to attack it. I do not want to be that person that ends up at an undesigned destination 5 years from now and still disgusted with where I'm at. I want to make a plan. I want to have a designed destination of where I want to be, and I'm going to focus on those tasks that takes me to that destination. So what are some of the things that I've always asked myself? The first thing that I've always done is I said, I'm going to recognize and own up that my health and my finances and my time spent, that's up to me. See, I work with a lot of people that have that victim mindset. They want to continue to blame their boss, the weather, the politics, all these different things. The first step for you really understanding what it takes to have success is recognize and own up. You are where you are from the choices that you've made. The next thing is acknowledge. So you got to recognize, and then you got to acknowledge that unless I make changes, nothing is going to change. I mean, I have worked with athletes that they're like, man, I just can't eat enough food. I can't, do this. And then I've worked with older people say, well, my boss, all these different things. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Listen, Johnny, you got to acknowledge that unless you make a decision to change, nothing's going to change. So you've got to say, I acknowledge this and I'm ready for change. The next thing you got to do is define what those changes are. You guys know that I'm big on faith, but next to faith, you hear me talk over and over about your health situation. And I feel like next to your faith, that is probably the most important thing. When you have the discipline to control what goes in your mouth, when you have the discipline to go to the gym with a plan on days that you don't want to go to, it elevates who you become. It gives you the confidence, not just because you look better, but it gives you the confidence because basically you cannot lead anyone if you can't lead yourself. It all starts with you leading self first. So define what those changes are that's going to help you get to that next level. Next is do work until you see the progress. I've had a quote that I've told people I've worked with for a lot of years, and I say, you know what? It's easy to make a plan, and it's pretty easy to follow that plan for a few days or a few weeks. The question is, can you do it long enough for you to see consistent progress? And you've got to ask yourself, am I at that point where I'm so disgusted with where I'm at in life? I know I've got the full potential to be something more to offer my wife or my husband or my kids or my community, or maybe I own a business. You've got to ask yourself, are you able to do the work until you see the progress? Next, one thing that I've always tried to do is I put pressure on myself to lead others. See, when you have other people that are counting on you, it finds a new motivation inside. And one of the things I've told over and over people that are going through this process, I said, lead many through your actions and mentor a few. So through your actions right now, ask yourself, am I a person that's leading my family? Am I a person that's considered a leader in my workplace? Am I a person that's a leader in my community, my church, whatever it is? And if you're not leading people, there's nothing that's pushing you in order to go to the gym early in the morning, to grab the books and read them instead of choosing educate or entertainment, to push yourself to be the best that you can be. The next part that I've always had a hard time getting people to understand this, and I kind of touched on this, we're talking about recognition right before acknowledgement, but that is self-evaluation. Self-evaluation is a simple question you ask yourself: would I follow me? My attitude. Do I make people feel good when they're around me? Is this something that I feel like who I am? People are attracted to me and my personality. Am I getting success? And then the main question to ask self is, am I becoming a better person along the way? See, self evaluation is hard for all of us. But when it all comes to one, piece of the puzzle that you've got to really consider is, what does self look like? And do I wake up in the morning and if I break a coffee cup, I'm like, hey man, I didn't need that coffee cup anyway? Or am I just like, oh man, today is going to be horrible? When I look in the mirror, do I feel confident of who I am and what I'm building in myself? Whether it be the way I look, the way I speak, the way I help others, the way I mentor others. And after you do that self evaluation, it's simple. You say, are people attracted to the person who I am. The next part that I would spend a lot of time working with people is talking to them that patience, and it's a process. You know, when you talk about a process, you hear that over and over. Follow the process, stay the course. What does that really mean? And all of you know that I love baseball. I already told you I'm going to the playoff game again tonight. And right now, Pearson and his team is facing pitchers that are throwing 90 to 95 mile per hour in 6A baseball. And it's crazy thinking about it. And see, when I started Pearson at 7 years old, there is no way that he was going to be hitting a 95 mile an hour fastball. But what did we talk about at 7 year old, hitting off the tee 30 minutes at a time, doing the soft toss, going from 20 mile an hour to 25 mile an hour to 30 mile an hour to 35 to 40 to 45, and now he's facing 95. See, it's the process. You might be 30 pounds overweight right now and look in the mirror and get disgusted. And I tell you, patience, it's a process. Can we win today of what goes in our mouth and we go to the gym? Can we win the next day? Can we win the next day? Can we win the next day? Can we win more days in the week and get some momentum? And then the second week we win more days. The third week we win more days, because you're not going to be hitting 95 mile an hour fastballs at the first time you come up to the plate and have never saw one. Patience. It's a process. It's so hard for us, man, especially, I would listen to podcasts over and over, similar to the one I'm delivering today, and I'd get all fired up and jacked up and excited. And then I'd go to the gym 2 or 3 days and I would control what I'm eating. And then next thing you know, a friend asked me to go to happy hour and eat some French fries. And I'm like, oh man, what am I doing to myself? It's a process. You have to have patience. The next is you have to make corrections and quit counting on others. Take ownership of what it is that you want to accomplish and put in the work. Corrections is something that I learned as I was getting my pilot's license. I couldn't just put in one destination and expect the plane to get me there. I'd always have to factor the wind direction changes, how much fuel's in the plane, the barometric pressure, the dew point. All these different things determined how that plane was going to fly. And that's the same way with who we are and what we're doing in our life on a daily basis. We have to make small corrections. We have to say, man, my tone of voice here needs to be corrected. My attitude in the morning needs to be corrected. What I'm doing as far as putting in my mind, this needs to be corrected. But I'm not going to count on others to determine my success. This is about me being the self-evaluator that I need to be. It's about me understanding that patience and it's a process, and me making those corrections as I develop and mature and become the person that I want to be. The next is, what is your philosophy? Your attitude, your daily disciplines, the way you see every day. I've told my boys over and over when they started lifting with me, they said, I have to go work out today. I said, no, you get to work out today. You get to be stronger than your competitors. You get to get better. You get to eat more food because you lifted more weights. So if you eat more food because you lifted more weights, you're going to get bigger. You're going to get stronger. You're going to sleep better because you're more tired. And if you sleep more because you're more tired, then your body is going to recover more. Your muscles are going to grow more. Your hormones are going to replace more. And then guess what? You're going to become better. See, everything that you look at, your boss gives you more on the plate. Oh, I have to do this more work. No, you get to. Because maybe he's building a rapport with you to see if you can go to that next level to get a big raise. You know what? Whatever you, however your philosophy is and how you see things is what's going to make a big determination of your future success. The next point is don't neglect. It starts as an affection, turns into a disease that affects your attitude, your health, and your wealth. Neglect. What is neglect, Jeremy? Neglect is I can eat this pizza and drink this six pack tonight. The next night your buddy calls you. Oh, 2 nights is not going to bother me. 3 nights, next thing you know, that little bit of neglect turns into a disease. Then your attitude is not where it needs to be. Your health is not where it needs to be. Your wealth is not where it needs to be. Make those daily non negotiables and say, no neglecting these. This is what's going to build the man or build the woman that I want to become, or the athlete who I want to become. And I am not letting a little bit of neglect turn into an infectious disease that's going to rob me of my attitude, my health, and my wealth. The hard true fact, and anybody that knows me knows that this is my best quote, and I forget the person. I don't know if it was Churchill or who, but it sums it all up. The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, and ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is. In the end, there it is. The truth. The truth is, it is up to you. And I know a lot of you that know me on a personal level. I've been doing a lot of things in my podcast, health, talking about business, talking about youth athletes, because that's the stage of life that I'm in right now. My favorite to share with people is mindset. And it's something I've did for 25 years. And this podcast is really just as important for me to remind myself as it is to deliver to you. But the real thing is, in the end, it is up to you. And I want you today, if you've been in a funk in life, you've been in a rut, you're not where you want to be in life, I want you to decide to do a good self-evaluation. I want you to decide to write down the things that you need to change. I want you to acknowledge those. I want you to have the patience to follow the process. And I want you to be a person that is respected, honored, and you are proud to get up every morning and to give your family, give your coworkers, give everyone around you the best leader that you was designed to be. So thank you guys for joining the Hard Truth Podcast. Have an awesome week. And I hope when you're listening to this that we have moved on to the state championship baseball game. And I will be letting you guys know updates on that on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. But audience, it is up to you. What will you do with it? Have a great day. Let's go!